My husband fell for a new student and demanded a divorce from me. I stared at him with bloodshot eyes, wishing I could tear him limb from limb. Even if it kills me, I won't step aside for her. He looked at me with a mix of hatred and disappointment. Life is long. Do you really have to cling to me like this? I slapped him, a cynical laugh escaping my lips. Life isn't long at all. I'd just been diagnosed with cancer, with only a month left to live. Marcus slammed the door and left, leaving me sitting alone in the darkness. Half an hour later, my phone flickered with a text message from his student. Grace, older women who can't bear children should know their place. It's so cheap to constantly cling to a man. The attached photo showed Marcus sleeping peacefully beside her. As I read the taunting words, a sharp pain shot through my chest. Marcus was even wearing the wedding ring I had designed for him. I took a screenshot, saved it, and immediately sent everything to Marcus's university. After that, I felt like all the bones had been drained from my body. I collapsed onto the sofa, a sickening sweet taste rising in my throat, and I rushed to the restroom to vomit. Thick, crimson blood spread out, like a withered flower. I lay limp on the floor, tears streaming into my mouth, bitter and sour. I had stomach cancer, years ago, when Marcus first became a professor. He had no connections and was awkward in social interactions. Back then, I went out countless times to entertain clients, drinking until I had stomach bleeds on several occasions, but held me, his tears falling onto my neck, drop by drop. Grace, it'll be good to you my whole life. Thank you. I didn't know why Marcus chose to cheat, a lifelong promise that didn't even last a decade. With a bitter smile, I got up, swallowed the pills the doctor had prescribed whole, and lay down to rest. The next morning when I woke up, I found my phone filled with missed calls from Marcus. I was about to call him back when the front door burst open. Before I could react, a swift, heavy slap sent me sprawling to the floor. My nose stung with a burning pain, and nosebleeds dripped down. Marcus looked haggard, his eyes filled with an unusual hatred. Clearly, he hadn't slept well all night. Grace, how could you be so malicious as to report Chloe? She was crying all night from fright. I wiped away the blood, then rose defiantly and slapped Marcus back. So what? She's knowingly being a mistress. She taunted his wife. Marcus glowered and yelled at me. She's just a young girl. What's wrong with you cutting her some slack? I scoffed. Is being young an excuse for everything? I'm telling you, I won't divorce you, and I won't let her off the hook. Both of you will pay for what you've done to me. Smack. Marcus delivered another sharp slap, knocking me to the ground. I lay there, unable to get up for a long time. He grabbed my wrist and dragged me out like a dead dog. Since you're so vicious, I'll punish you for Chloe. Aren't you afraid of the dark? He dragged me, step by step, towards the narrow basement storage room in their house. I realized what he was about to do and struggled violently. Marcus, I got claustrophobia because I was trying to save you. You can't do this. Marcus once developed a scientific research achievement, but it attracted the attention of malicious individuals. When threats and inducements failed, they kidnapped Marcus. To save Marcus, I was held captive in a basement and tortured for 3 days. After I was released, I was forced to have a hysterectomy and developed claustrophobia. I cried, struggling ceaselessly, but didn't stop. He opened the storage room door, kicked me down the stairs, his voice cruel. If I don't teach you a lesson, you'll never realize your mistakes. You enjoy bullying Chloe so much, don't you? Now you can reflect on it in here. With a bang, the front door was slammed shut, and the last sliver of light vanished. I quickly felt breathless, fumbling for my phone, desperate for help. But when I opened my phone, I realized it was dead. I could only call emergency contacts or the police. I called the police first. The memories of the abuse and harm I suffered surged, and I fought against the fear. Hello, I'm at the police station. Was 2 hours away. After explaining the situation, I knew I would barely last until the officers arrived. My emergency contact was Marcus. With no other option, I had to call him. I called twice, but Marcus didn't pick up. By the third call, he had blocked me. The robotic female voice echoed cruelly in the basement. It was pitch black, and I couldn't stop trembling. When I next regained consciousness, I was lying in a hospital room, my heart aching with spasms. When we got married, my body was too damaged to handle intense research. Marcus knelt before me, confessing his love with tears in his eyes. Grace, even if you can't go into the lab anymore, I'll always love you. But now, the one I loved most had hurt me the deepest. Before I could fully process my feelings, my phone rang. It was Sarah, Grace, Marcus must be insane. That's your mother's lifelong work, and he's giving it to that mistress? Hearing that news, I couldn't stay in the hospital to recover. I hailed a cab directly to Marcus's staff apartments. When I opened the door, Marcus was holding Chloe, comforting her. It's all right. Once you achieve something, people won't say much, and the university won't expel you. My vision blurred with rage. I rushed forward and delivered a resounding slap to Marcus's face. That's my mother's dedication. How dare you give it to that scumbag Chloe? Marcus pressed his tongue against his cheek, a cold sneer on his face. Chloe is practically being expelled because of you. You ask how dare I? Marcus delivered a heavy kick to my lower abdomen, sending me sprawling to the floor. I struggled to get up, but Marcus stomped on me again, pinning me to the ground. He held Chloe, looking at me with scorn, mocking my helplessness. This is your penance to Chloe. If you kneel and kowtow to her now, I might consider giving your mother secondary authorship. My vision swam, and I tasted blood with every breath. The desire for revenge against that cheating pair screamed in my heart. Yet I didn't even have the strength to lift my hand. Seeing my prolonged inaction, Marcus sneered, "So you won't kneel, huh? Then don't blame me for crediting Chloe with your mother's lifelong work." I closed my eyes, picturing my mother, who had been working tirelessly on that project right before she died. "I'm sorry." I knelt on the floor, blood trickling from the corner of my mouth. Marcus saw my state and looked a little flustered. "Grace, what's wrong with you? Don't play games." When I woke up, I was back in the bedroom at their house. Outside the door, I heard Marcus talking to their family doctor. "She's perfectly fine, and the blood she vomited was just fake blood, right?" The family doctor gave an affirmative answer, and I couldn't help but sneer. The next second, Marcus stormed into the bedroom and slapped me. "Grace, I can't believe you've become like this, pretending to be sick just to scare Chloe and me." Threads of blood dripped from the corner of my mouth as I stared at him coldly. "If you dare to introduce my mother's project and connections to Chloe, I will haunt you even as a ghost." Marcus said nothing, but Chloe pushed the bedroom door open and walked in. Her face was radiant with triumph. "It's too late. Professor has already given it to me. You should just let Professor go. A woman like you isn't worthy of him at all." A sharp pain pierced my heart. I looked at Marcus, wishing I could tear him limb from limb. "Marcus, you animal. If it weren't for my mother's support back then, how could you possibly have your current standing? And now you're trampling all over my mother's project and connections. Do you think you're worthy of her?" A trace of guilt flickered across Marcus's face, but Chloe's words made it vanish completely. She linked her arm with Marcus's. "No wonder Professor doesn't want you. Who would ever want an arrogant woman like you? Professor is talented in his own right. Even without your short-lived mother, he would have gotten to where he is today." Her words made Marcus gradually grow smug. He looked at me, a slight smirk playing on his lips. "Chloe's right, Grace, I'm telling you. What I hate most is that arrogant look on both you and your mother's faces." Marcus's expression grew increasingly ferocious. Finally, he grabbed my neck and pinned me against the desk. "Sign these divorce papers right now. If you refuse, I'll have someone bring out your mother's ashes." He didn't say what he would do with my mother's ashes, but I knew perfectly well. I slowly pulled a cold smile onto my face and signed my name on the divorce papers. Seeing that I agreed to the divorce, Chloe's joy was impossible to hide. She linked her arm with Marcus, radiant with excitement. "Professor, in exactly 1 month, those projects will have results. Let's throw a celebration party, and then we can register our marriage." Marcus appeased Chloe, but his gaze was fixed on me. "If only you had been as considerate as Chloe, I wouldn't have had to go this far with you." Mustering my last bit of strength, I slapped him. "Get out, both of you. Get out." I was now incredibly grateful that this house was my premarital asset and registered in my name, before it could erupt in anger. I spoke with a sneer. "If you don't leave right now, I'll have security throw both you and her out. It won't be my reputation that's ruined." A flicker of apprehension crossed Chloe's face. She dragged Marcus, and they fled in disarray. After they left, I endured the pain and saved all of the security footage from their house during that period. Finally, I sought out Marcus's arch-rival and found out the venue Marcus had booked for Chloe's celebration party. I gripped the USB drive in my hand and sneered, "Marcus and Chloe want me dead? Before I go, I'll take two with me." On the day of the official celebration party, I dressed up and arrived at the hotel early. Money talks. I watched the two of them from the security office. They both arrived in formal attire. Chloe linked arm in arm with Marcus, smiling sweetly. "Professor, once today's celebration party is over, your divorce cooling off period will also be finished. We can go and register our marriage then." Her eyes were full of anticipation, but for some reason, Marcus's expression seemed hesitant. Marcus pulled away from Chloe, went to the side, and made a call, but it went unanswered. At that moment, my phone vibrated frantically. I found it somewhat amusing. What could he possibly want by calling me now? Before I could figure it out, Marcus turned to go back to the venue. However, as soon as he entered, everyone was looking at the teacher and student pair with subtle glances. Chloe sensed the uneasy atmosphere and tried to ask something, but the next second I calmly stepped forward and slapped her hard. Such a young girl, yet so keen on flaunting her affair. Huh? Marcus saw her, and for some reason, a smile appeared on his face. He shielded Chloe behind him. "Grace, what are you doing causing a scene here? If you're willing to apologize and admit your mistake, I won't divorce you." I nearly vomited right there. Who would want to stay married to a scumbag like him? Chloe's face, however, suddenly turned ashen. I flexed my wrist and slapped Marcus back with my other hand. "I was so busy slapping the mistress, I forgot to slap you, the scumbag." Calmly, I swapped out the video meant to celebrate Chloe with my own footage. Setting the stage for my triumph, I pointed at the footage and photos playing silently with subtitles on the projector screen. "How dare you give my mother's project to this filthy mistress?" Luckily, I had a backup plan and prepared this footage. Otherwise, who knows how long you would keep protecting this filthy mistress. The screen displayed footage of Marcus assaulting me for Chloe, and Chloe's past provocations towards me. Indeed, not every noted academic present had a pristine private life, but making such a public spectacle was rare. Chloe knew better than anyone that everything was over today. She pleaded, her face pale. "Professor, say something." "Professor, it's a celebration party today. If I can't clear my name, I'll be expelled from the university." As watched the footage and then turned to Chloe. His expression was particularly savage. "How dare you provoke her in private? Didn't I tell you not to actively seek her out?" Chloe's lips trembled, unable to speak. The most respected dean present stepped forward, looking at Marcus with a grim expression. "Today was meant to be a celebration party, but since this has happened, I think we should postpone it for now, including the presentation of your new project's results." This meant that all of Chloe's schemes would come to nothing. Chloe broke down crying on the spot, tears streaming down her face, but ignored her, rushing forward to grab my wrist. "You're doing all this because you're jealous and still can't let me go." I looked at him, sneering repeatedly, and finally flipped him off. "You idiot. I wouldn't let a scumbag like you taint my life. I'm divorcing you. Do you understand? I have cancer and I'm dying soon." What's with this sudden act of profound affection? The moment those words left my mouth, Marcus's face suddenly went ashen. "What did you say? Your body was perfectly fine. How could you be dying?" I ignored him and started to walk away, but Marcus, his eyes red, blocked my path. "You must be lying to me, right? That day, I even had the family doctor examine you." Sarah rolled her eyes and yanked his hand away. "If you're crazy, go see a doctor." Why would I lie about something like this? If you don't believe me, go check my medical records. I might lie, but the hospital won't, right? Instead of standing here doubting me, you should go check it out yourself. She turned and left, while Marcus's arch rival walked up to him, smiling smugly. "If it weren't for your wife, you might actually have gotten that promotion this year." But at that moment, Marcus stood rooted to the spot, as if he hadn't heard a word, until came over, cautiously taking his hand. "Professor, what do we do now? The celebration party is ruined, and I'll probably be expelled. Grace is really something else, always so jealous and unwilling to consider the big picture. Now she's ruined your chances of getting that promotion." "Professor," I hadn't gone far. I stood nearby, sneering, watching it all unfold. With talking like that, Marcus would probably be heartbroken. To my surprise, Marcus didn't coddle Chloe this time. Instead, he impatiently shoved her away. "If you couldn't complete the project yourself, I wouldn't have had to take her mother's project. What good is crying to me now?" Chloe was clearly startled, but Marcus ignored her and drove straight to their house. I was about to turn and leave, but the next second, the world spun, and I collapsed into unconsciousness. When I opened my eyes again, I only had time to see my body lying on the ground. The next moment, my soul uncontrollably drifted to Marcus's side. He was sitting in his car, calling the family doctor. "You're sure my wife's body had no problems that day, right?" The family doctor clearly hadn't expected Marcus to ask about that day a month later. He stammered slightly. "Oh, of course, Mrs. Z's body was perfectly fine. She was just jealous of you and Chloe. Marcus, however, didn't pick up on the obvious guilt in his voice. After hanging up, he continued to drive furiously. I heard him muttering excitedly to himself, "Grace, if you dare to lie to me, you're dead. After all these years, why are your tricks still so childish?" I floated by Marcus's side, finding his smug, confident demeanor amusing. How blind was I to have ever fallen for this arrogant and self-important man? Marcus parked the car downstairs. As he rushed to the front door, he saw the property management locking it. He grabbed the property manager, his face filled with disbelief. "Why are you locking the door? My wife still lives here. How can you just lock it?" The property manager looked at him as if he were insane. "What are you talking about?" "Mrs. Z passed away a month ago after taking sleeping pills. This house has already been listed for sale. Please don't interfere with my work." The property manager shook him off. Marcus trembled, trying to open the door, but just then, a call from Chloe came through. She clearly didn't know I was truly dead and was still crying pitifully. "What do I do, Professor? Grace really seems to be trying to scare me." I received a threatening text message from her. As spoke, Marcus actually seemed to perk up. He didn't rush to reply to Chloe. I heard him muttering excitedly to himself. I knew she was lying to me. If she can still threaten Chloe, it'll make her come out and see me. Watching him talk to himself like that, I suddenly felt a twisted anticipation for the moment he would meet Chloe and discover it was all a lie. Marcus quickly rushed to Chloe's dorm building. Chloe's face was pale and pitiful, her lips even powdered to hide their natural color. The moment she saw Marcus, she eagerly threw herself into his arms. "Professor, I'm so scared. Professor, why is Grace trying to scare me like this?" As she cried pitifully, she opened her phone to the text message screen and handed it to Marcus. "Professor, look at her. She's sent so many threatening messages." Chloe was so busy covering her face and crying that she completely missed Marcus's increasingly grim expression. Marcus rapidly scrolled through the text message records, and I was forced to watch as well. By the time he finished, I couldn't help but let out a cold laugh. Chloe didn't understand me at all. But Marcus, after all, had been married to me for so many years. He knew better than anyone that when I sent text messages, I had a peculiar habit of replacing Chinese punctuation with English characters, and ellipses usually only had 3 dots. But all the punctuation in the text messages Chloe had fabricated were normal Chinese characters. Marcus couldn't take it anymore. He slammed the phone onto Chloe's face. "How dare you lie to me? Grace didn't send these text messages at all." The angrier he got, the more he spoke, until finally, he delivered a heavy slap to Chloe. Just then, Chloe's phone rang. The phone vibrated continuously. The caller ID showed Marcus's hired family doctor. Chloe's face turned ashen, and she tried to hang up the call, but was quicker. He snatched Chloe's phone and answered it. The family doctor's anxious voice came through. "Ms. Chloe, Professor is starting to get suspicious. You were the one who asked me to conceal Mrs. Z's terminal illness. What do we do now?" The moment those words were spoken, Chloe collapsed to the ground. I watched Chloe's ashen face with keen interest. No wonder Marcus thought I was faking my illness. So it was his little mistress behind it all. Anne's face was grim and ferocious, unlike anything I had ever seen before. He hung up the phone, reached out, grabbed Chloe's arm, and tried to drag her up. Chloe knew Marcus wouldn't let her off the hook. She struggled with all her might. It was lunchtime for the students, and it happened to be outside the girls' dorm building. The moment Chloe cried for help, many students gathered around. "Professor, what are you doing? How can you hit a woman?" Most of the girls had a sense of justice. Though they disliked Chloe for flaunting her affair, they wouldn't stand by and watch her get beaten. Marcus was forced to release Chloe. He looked at Chloe, a corner of his lip twitching. "You hid Grace's terminal illness from me. Weren't you just afraid I'd leave you?" The moment he said that, the group of female students who had been protecting Chloe scattered. Other students whom Marcus had taught looked at him with hatred. Grace was such a good person. How could you treat her like that, Chloe, you animal? Looking at Olivia's face, even though I was dead, a warmth spread through my heart. Both she and Chloe were poor students, and I had once supported and looked after both of them, but one was righteous and brave, while the other was knowingly being a mistress. Deprived of her classmates' protection, Chloe was dragged away by Marcus like a chick. I had no choice but to float by Marcus and Chloe, watching helplessly as Chloe was thrown into the basement. He gripped Chloe's face, his expression blank, but his words made me want to laugh. "How dare you treat Grace like this? Don't you know she's my wife?" Looking at Marcus like this, I just thought he was sick in the head. When I was alive, he openly brought Chloe home to have an affair, and even forced me to kneel for Chloe. Now that I'm dead, who is he putting on this show of deep affection for? Chloe realized something was wrong and cried, clinging to Marcus's leg. Professor, I know I was wrong. I shouldn't have provoked Grace, but I truly love you, Professor. She cried as pitifully as ever, but didn't dote on her like before. Instead, he slapped Chloe hard, knocking her to the ground. You're full of lies, and your heart is malicious. I actually betrayed Grace for a woman like you. He locked Chloe in the basement, just as he had done to me that day. I want you to atone for what you did to Grace. Seeing in this state, I couldn't help but frown. Chloe certainly did wrong, but ultimately, without Marcus's indulgence, she wouldn't have dared to do anything to me. Marcus was the one who made the mistakes, and now he's blaming Chloe. I felt a pang of anxiety, wanting to leave Marcus and find a way to get Chloe rescued. After all, being trapped in a dark, confined space for too long can drive a person insane. I didn't want Chloe to have a good life, but I also didn't want her to become a scumbag scapegoat. But no matter how many times I tried, my body would be pulled back. Just as I was beginning to despair, the front door of their house was forcibly broken open by the police. Olivia, the girl who spoke up for me outside the girls' dorm building, stood behind the police, watching them bring Chloe out. Chloe tearfully tried to apologize, but Olivia pushed her away. You're flaunting your affair and bullying Grace was terrible, but if Professor hadn't been so reckless himself, you wouldn't have even had the chance. She looked at Marcus, her face showing a stubbornness identical to mine. Marcus was quickly taken away by the police for unlawful detention. When the police took his statement, they asked Marcus for his motive in detaining Chloe. Marcus smiled, an incomprehensible madness in his expression. Since she caused my wife's death, and my wife refuses to see me, I had no choice but to sacrifice her. This time, the young female officers weren't moved by his words. Olivia, who had previously spoken up for me, sat to the side, her face filled with hatred. If it hadn't been for you, Grace wouldn't have been humiliated like that by Chloe. You were the real culprit all along. And now you're trying to act affectionate. And by saying things like that, aren't you just trying to pin your own attempted murder on Grace? Marcus's face changed drastically. He glared viciously at Olivia. What do you know? This is my love for Grace. I looked at Marcus, finding him utterly irrational. After the police finished taking Marcus's statement, they had him taken to prison for custody. Marcus sat in prison, looking at me by the light, his expression subtly distorted. Grace, I know you're still by my side because you still have feelings for me. You still love me. You're angry with me because you're jealous of Chloe and me. It's okay. When I die, it'll come to you. Watching his self-pitying act, I just wanted to vomit. In front of him, I phased through the cell, made a circle, and came back. You're wrong, Marcus. I'm staying by your side just to watch you die. After I uttered those words, Marcus's face visibly blanched for a moment. He shook his head and looked at me. No way. You loved me so much before. How could you suddenly stop loving me? I curved my lips into a smile, looking at Marcus, and spoke the truth he had deliberately ignored, word for word. Of course, I hate you. Otherwise, who do you think called the police for Chloe? It was me who told Olivia to bring the police. Otherwise, given your character, you would only have chosen to get away with it. Marcus sat on the ground as if struck by lightning. I didn't spare him another glance and walked straight out of the cell. Olivia, the student who called the police, was still giving her statement to the officers, and Sarah came to pick her up. The two sat together in silence. After a long while, Sarah spoke, her voice dry. The text message you received, it was definitely from Grace's phone number, right? Olivia nodded, her tone very soft. It was Grace's phone, and the police just checked it. There were no other fingerprints on it, and the last prints were from a month ago. Sarah covered her face and burst into tears. I really miss her. If it weren't for Marcus, she wouldn't have ended up like this. She recounted the story of how I saved Marcus to Olivia. I used to think that incident was incredibly touching. But now, hearing it again, I just feel it was the biggest mistake of my life. Looking at Olivia's expression, my resolve only strengthened. Just as the two were about to part ways, Sarah's phone suddenly rang. Mr. Marcus said he has something to tell you. Please come to the police station as soon as possible. A faint sense of dread stirred in my heart, but Sarah seemed to sense something. And after dropping Olivia off, she returned to the police station. Marcus sat opposite Sarah across the visitation window. The moment Sarah saw him, she couldn't contain her emotions. How can you face Grace? She sacrificed so much for you, And now you're trying to pin the murder on her. Marcus's smile was bitter and helpless, filled with a sickening devotion. I know I wronged her, but believe it or not, she was the only one in my heart. I can even see her after her death. Hearing say those words, I had a bad feeling about it. Sure enough, his next sentence was a plea for Sarah to hire a lawyer to get him out, even if it meant using an insanity plea. He didn't care. Sarah's expression visibly showed hesitation. A surge of immense anger and disgust made me shout out loud, "Don't help him. Let him rot in prison." I originally thought Sarah wouldn't hear my cry, but the next moment, she and Marcus both looked in my direction. Marcus's face looked utterly defeated, while Sarah cried tears of joy. I wanted to say more, but an uncontrollable force pulled me away. In my last glimpse before leaving, I heard Sarah tell Marcus, "If I really helped you, Grace would probably never want to see me again, so a scumbag like you deserves to rot in prison." Thank you for watching this video. If you have any thoughts about this story, feel free to share them in the comment section.